Hi everyone. Today we're gonna start yet another video, and this one is going to be very nice for you because a lot of you were asking for it. It's going to be a tutorial on MySQL client as well as MySQL database, which is MySQL server. And I'm going to do how-to section for this one, and it's going to be a lot of interactivity and real-time kind of instruction and commands that I'm going to issue. And this one is going to be brought to you at youtube.com slash at MyWebUniversity. MyWebUniversity is the channel handle that you should watch it on youtube.com. A lot of these tutorials I'm going to provide to help developers, IT related, sysadmin, DBA, tech support, junior admins and senior admins, as well as students and all kind of programmer, software engineers, and topics of IT related courses, whether it's computer science courses on operating system, database, networking, software engineering, and then you could name it. And I have a lot of videos at my web university website. Also, it's called mywebuniversity.com. In this slideshow that I'm showing you, although you can install MySQL client as well as MySQL server on a variety of operating systems, such as Windows operating system, a Linux operating system, Unix operating system. So the Unix operating system, for example, you can install it on Mac OS X, or you can install it on Solaris operating system, and many other AIX and other platforms. So on the Linux side, software, for example, I'm showing you this one is going to be on operating system of Red Hat, which is RHEL 8.9. The RHEL stands for Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and the version is 8.9. This is the current version that a lot of production servers on a lot of organizations are being using it or being run at the time. So the operating system is very essential to see what operating system you're running it. So when you install the software for the MySQL client, it depends on the operating system. You have to have resources such as a random access memory or physical memory, and then also have swap space as well as disk storage so you can install the software. And on top of it, you have to have admin privileges like an Linux platform root access to install it on the operating system of your choice, whether it's Mac OS X or Linux, Red Hat, Ubuntu, Rocky, whatever version, Linux Mint, whatever version you want to do it, OpenSUSE, whatever name that you choose, this software or provided from Oracle website, download it. There you can install it, or they come up as packages. For example, on Red Hat, they would come as RPMs, Red Hat Package Managers, and then you use DNF or YUM to install them. On Ubuntu, use apt and apt install to install them. So on different version of, obviously on Windows, they will come up as a setup. You could install the setup for the software, and then once you get it, you get a very nice GUI. So it is also a client server architecture. A lot of relational database, whether it's MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, Informix, a lot of them were already client server architecture, including Windows SQLnet, Windows SQL that you could install it. A lot of the software that you're doing it on the client server, whether it's DB4 or some other ones, they're either a relational database or a hierarchical database like LDAP, or maybe Solar Indexer is a non-relational database, and it's basically it is just NoSQL, what they call it, Solar Indexer or MongoDB, other ones. And there's object-oriented database. But in this one, we're talking about a relational database, which is a relation between the tables, and whether it's a one-to-one relationship or a one-to-many. A lot of those concepts I'll discuss in details as we explain different ones. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the client server architecture, which is MySQL client on the client side, and then Oracle on the Oracle side. I mean, MySQL D on the Oracle side or the server side. So when you connect from operating system, as you can see, these arrows pointing from the operating system, when you run it as local user or root user, you're connecting to the MySQL client using MySQL client software, and then you just are a local host, which is on this operating system. You're just running the MySQL client software, which is user bin MySQL when you install it. And then that will connect to MySQL, but however, that is just a software to connect you to the local host. If there's a database is running on the local host database, like you can see here, localhost DB, if the Oracle database is installed on this operating system, given this machine is connected to it, then you can use MySQL to connect to it. You can also have an Oracle database or MySQL database or Informix database, some other database that you could connect through MySQL client to connect to that database instance, and then that would be remotely to what is called a connecting string, which is the host name, the instance name, and then the port number that you're connecting. That is your connecting string. So I taught a lot of database courses at the university level, including Oracle, MySQL, and other ones. So I know a lot in details. I have run a lot of kind of database instances, worked with a lot of DBAs also. I have been a system admin, DBA, as well as system analyst for so many years, 30 years or long. So I am very kind of profession on these kind of topics. I can tell you what is a relational database, what is a hierarchical database. I can create a database, I can destroy it and create entities, create synonyms, create profiles, create schema, create accounts, and then data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language. All I can tell you in every session a different video. For example, maybe we could talk about database normalization, how you normalize a database so you don't have any anomalies for insertion anomalies, update anomalies, or deletion. What is a primary key? What's a foreign key? What's a candidate key? What is alternate key? A lot of those ones will come next. And then at this video, I'm going to talk about MySQL and MySQLD. So welcome to MyWebUniversity, my YouTube channel. And then please make sure that you like our videos and subscribe. If you like our video and subscribe, I really appreciate it. And if it meets your needs, that's great. If it doesn't, please let me know what I can do to improve it so I can serve you better. God bless you. But before we just finish the video, I'm going to actually do the work right now. So what I was showing you on the MySQL, I already installed it on my Linux Ubuntu server. Let me just say cat etc /release. You can see that it's a Linux Ubuntu server, and I'm running it on my webuniversity.com. So I'm going to just show you, for example, on this one, when I installed MySQL already, MySQL, you can see MySQL is there, MySQL D is there, systemctl, status MySQL. At this time, I'm not going to just be running it on my website. I'm going to show you on a demo server. So I'm going to say systemctl, disable MySQLD, and that MySQL, actually, in this case, on Ubuntu, it's called MySQL, and then on the Linux and Red Hat and other ones are called MySQL D. So when you look at it, like for example here, if I look at the status, you can see it is running. The way you know whether MySQL is installed or not, you can say grep for MySQL, and then the packages that are there, you can see for the process as well as say RPM minus QA here, and RPM is not installed because this is Ubuntu. So I could say, and I could install RPM, or I could say list MySQL dash client. That would be saying that it is installed, and then MySQL server. So this is the processes that are running on Linux Ubuntu. And then if I say which MySQL, it will show the path MySQLD, MySQL admin, and a lot of them MySQL show, MySQL dump. So notice all of them or there MySQL hub. And then if you just say user ben star MySQL star, you get a list of them. So on subsequent video, I'm going to show you a lot of these ones. Please watch this video for entirely because I'm going to start with installation of the client side on a Red Hat machine as well as the Unix, as well as MySQL server. So as you can see here, if I do my MySQL, let's say admin, you will see the admin page here. But normally you're not going to be running a Linux machine to do this one, or just say, for example, say man MySQLD. You are not going to be sitting in front of a Linux machine to get all these manual pages. So what I did on my website here, which is if you go to the MyWebUniversity main page, you can just look at all these videos you could watch, or you can go to the next page, which I bring you the table of contents for my book, which is online for you, called The Direct Path to Linux Ubuntu. This is about 13 chapters, some of them like chapter 2, chapter 3, 4, or beginners in a basic and intermediate and advanced level of Linux commands and Unix commands that I have videos and everything I showed you in the past. But chapter 12 in this case is, for example, on Linux Ubuntu, that you can get all the information. If you are looking for a PDF file on Red Hat, this is the page. But let's go to chapter 12. And by default, I'm showing you bash. So if you click on this one, it will generate the bash command for this, and then you can just click on this, and now you get the manual pages in PDF format. But you say, Wahid, that's great. Can you also do the same thing for MySQL, which is not part of the OS by default? Yes, I have done that one to help you out. So MySQL, I just installed it as I showed you earlier. So when you type in MySQL on the search, the MySQL.pdf I created for you dynamically here. Okay, so one thing that is important here, that PDF is very nice and helpful, that you can just get all the documentation and everything. But there's some link also to the website that you can go to MySQL shell, for example, to practice it. There's videos that I create on MySQL shell that you could learn it from it. And if you just are looking for other like developer, notice that some of these pages, the way that they have the manual pages, they don't have this bracket at parentheses around it. So it is a good URL to click on. But this one has a parentheses around it. So the developer should have just gave some space here and here when they wrote the PDF, the manual pages. So if I just say, for example, MySQL, MySQL, you can see at the bottom of this one, the manual pages is just put within parentheses. This is not good because there should be a space here. So when you cut and paste this one, it's gonna have this right bracket as well. And then if you just are pointing your mouse to it, notice that there's the whole thing is together. as if it's a URL. Well, that URL should be separated with this one. So whoever wrote this developer documentation, this is a small slide of correction. Please make sure that this one, there's a space. So if I click on this one, notice it adds that one, and that URL now it says page not found. So somebody that is a little bit novice, they might just say, oh, this page is documentation doesn't work. What you could do is just remove this one and then just go there, and then that would take you there. And in addition, you can go to documentation, you can go to downloads, and there's a lot of documentation, nice stuff that is either on PDF or HTML that MySQL.com has done it for years. MySQL is, by the way, was originally kind of open source on Linux stuff, and then on Linux operating system, and then Sun Microsystem purchased it, and I believe in 2011, Sun and Oracle merged, and as a result, Oracle with Sun become Oracle Sun Microsystem, but now it's only called Oracle, because Oracle has the Oracle database as well as MySQL, as well as Java. All those very nice tools are available in Oracle website. So MySQL is also part of Oracle. For the intermediate size, medium size to small databases, MySQL is top of the line. For the larger size, usually people use Oracle database, which is very good, efficient. You can use for a small size and medium size Oracle as well, but MySQL is for relations database. Usually it's medium to large size to small, but the medium size is more efficient for MySQL. People use it similar to Microsoft SQL. And then Microsoft Access is also relation database, MySQL, Informix, Sybase, Ingress, Postgres, and DB4. There's a lot of databases that are doing this work. So just know that this documentation is for you, available. Let's say you want to just come back on my site and say, Wahid, can you just say MySQL, let's say admin. So you could look at the admin page for MySQL admin manual pages. Yeah, I produce you the output here, everything. Whether you want to do MySQL dump or MySQL pump, any of them, you just type in here. So then you don't have to log into a Linux machine in order to learn it. Just come at MyWebUniversity. I generate everything for you on the fly, and then you have it in a PDF format. How cool is that one? I think this is a developer's dream. A lot of you that are developing and running code, from time to time, you need to look at some flags or some options, some kind of documentation. And instead of going searching on Google for a few times in order to get to the right documentation, or just finding out the sources, I built up a lot of these ones for you in order to help you. So this is not just Linux. You could search for Docker. You could search for Node.js. A lot of the tools are in this stuff for you. So if you're a student, also it helps you for thousands of documentation that you don't have to buy book on everything. So let's say you're looking for Python, and then you just click on it and you get that one. If similarly your C++ or C compiler collection, the new collection. So I type GC, there's no such command, and then my program is smart enough to say that there's no manual pages on that one. But if you correct it to GCC and then you type in that one, I'm going to generate the GCC command for you. And then once it creates it, because GCC is about 366 line, it takes about less than 30 seconds to just generate it. And as I was talking, it just generated that file. And it's dynamic, so you can see the whole compiler options and source code of C and C++ with G++ and CC for GCC. I was mentioning Node.js. If you look for Node command here on manual pages, and you can get that one as well. So let's come back to the actual installation of Linux Ubuntu on, I'm sorry, Red Hat. So as you can see, my screen says Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and the version that I'm going to log in for is 8.9. Please watch this video to entirely, so any question you have, you can be specific to it. And if I can help you further, I will do so. And then watch for other video that I'm gonna add on to it. And then let me just make the font a little bit bigger. And I'm going to move this one here, and let's see, it is good enough, I think. Let me just close it first and then open it. I'm gonna do Shift Control Plus. As you can see, it is bigger enough. So now I'm gonna move it right here, so you can see the information. Actually, let's just have it the entire window. We don't need to see the Red Hat logo all the time. So what we could do is OS-release. You can see it is a Red Hat distribution of Fedora, and it's a Red Hat 8, and the specific version is 8.9. So I'm going to just, if I just say cat etc Red Hat dash release, and then it says 8.9. Why am I showing you that one? It's important. Why? Because every version that you install Linux, MySQL client or MySQL server, you need to know that what operating system you're using. So what is memory here? I'm seeing like about 15 gigabyte of memory with 13 gigabyte of free. For a client in a server installation as a default, and this is pretty good. 16 gig of memory allocated for this one. This is again running a host operating system of Windows. If I just open a host operating system here, you can see algorithm is my host name. And if I say system info, find slash iOS name, you can see that it is Windows 11 System Professional here. But the entire operating system, in terms of memory, I have about 32 gig. And then out of the 32 gig, I have allocated 16 of it for this one. So if I just look at the model of the machine for the host operating system, it is model is Intel 64-bit. All the details are there, as well as you can look at the, for example, device manager on Windows. You can see the details here as well, and look at the processor. For example, for the processor, I have about 8 processor and then 11 generation core Intel 7 architecture at 3.4 gigahertz. And then this one also says 3.4 gigahertz here and Intel 64-bit. So you can get that information in this regard to what it is there. I'm going to exit out of this one, come back to the Linux. Since I did this one, if you look at the virtual machine that I'm running here, I have configured a lot of them, but I'm only running this one at this time, which is a Red Hat. And as you can see, it's a Red Hat Enterprise Linux version VM2, and then 16 gigabyte of memory and 4 processor. So if I go back to this one and say, okay, 16 gig, I can also do like a top command and get some of the information here, say, this is the memory, and then this is the swap space and all that detail. And then the load average is good. So we get the free in terms of memory, free dash h, but I could also say cat slash proc slash mem info 5 more. Let me just do that, clear screen. Free dash h was there. You could also say cat slash proc slash mem info 5 more, and you get that 16 gig that I have allocated here. You can see that one. And free is about 13 gig. So then another one is you could see, for example, the CPU, you could say ls CPU, that would give you the CPU, and it says that 3.4 gigahertz Intel 11 generation that I showed you on Windows as the guest. I mean, as the host. This one is the guest operating system, the virtual machine. And then you can see I have 4 CPUs allocated here. And then you can also do the cat command that we did, and instead of meminfo, you could just say CPU info, and it will tell you that you have 4 sibling, which is 4 processors here. And the speed is showing up, all the details are showing up. And then also you could say, and instead of CPU info, you could say cat partition table. Partitions, you could see all the partition on that device, the disk, everything is there, which is dev-h is also showing you those devices. ls block also show you. So those are important. And then at the same time, you could also get swap space information. Swaps to see how much swap is there. Currently, I have not allocated, it's only 3 gig in size, but I'm not expecting to have a database running on this machine. This is just a demo. If you do, whatever is the size of the database instance, normally you make sure that whatever is your RAM, you get 1.5 of the RAM allocated to swap space, just in case if your database grow and then you have to swap, your system performance are not going to go in degradation. But the more physical memory you have, the better, because when you run the process, all the process that start, it's going to just use the virtual memory here that is going to be from the physical, and then the resident portion and the shared, all of that gets dynamically changed as the process writes to the heap or just remove it from the heap. So let's just do the work now. So as soon as you see it, I'm logged on this machine here, and I already told you this is OSS Red Hat. So what I need to do here, I need to just say which is my user ID. I have no access at this time to install software because I'm just a regular user. In order to install MySQL client or MySQL server, first thing to do is you could either switch user as root or do a sudo dash, and that would also prompt you for sudo access. If you do have the password, then now you can become root. So in order for me to do all of those commands, at one point, I just become root first. Now I say, this one is a Red Hat, so I'm going to say which DNF. And then as you can see, if I say which YAM, the previous version up to 7 was, YAM was provided, DNF was not there. DNF, when it came to the Red Hat 8 and later on 9, then YAM symbolic link to DNF-3. So which I say, which DNF, DNF is also symbolic link to the DNF-3. If I say ls-l user bin DNF, it says that symbolic link to DNF-3. Similarly, YAM is symbolic link to DNF-3. So whenever you're running YAM or DNF, you're actually using DNF-3. That means that your operating system will at some point are going to get rid of the symbolic link YAM. But DNF and DNF-3 will always be there. And then if I say file user bin YAM, that says it's symbolic link to DNF-3. Similarly, DNF is symbolic link to DNF-3, but DNF-3 is a Python script, and it's about 62 lines, I believe. So cat -n, you can see that it is 58 lines. On every machine, it differs depending on the modules, like Python modules that are getting loaded, OS modules, and other syntax or path and everything. So at this time, let's just search to see I'm going to do DNF. I'm going to say search MySQL. So you can do a search, you can do a lot of commands like info or what provides it, and then everything. You can see those are the packages are there. So if I just say, okay, this is the packages that are available for it, I could say DNF repo list. This is my repository list of packages that I can download MySQL client and then packages and install it. So let's do that one. Say, if I say which MySQL at this time is not installed, and if I say which MySQLD, it's not installed. So what I could do is say DNF provides MySQL, and then I could get the name of the repository that I could just install it and then do it. But you don't have to do all of this one in order to say, well, for MySQL client, I need to do MySQL 8.1 modules or MySQL dash client or something. And then similarly, if I say which provide MySQLD, it will give me the MySQL dash server. So at this time, I'm gonna do install each one of them separately. So first thing I say, DNF install MySQL by itself. So I don't have to say MySQL dash client or MySQL dash common or something. It's gonna just identify that MySQL is the package that I need to install, and then also MariaDB connector and MySQL dash common. So I say, yeah, go ahead install those ones. Total download is 15 megabyte. Install size is 73 megabyte. And you have, I showed you the space that is plenty. So I don't worry about 15 megabyte or 73 megabyte. It gets installed here. Now, if I say, and instead of this one, I say listed, then it's gonna say MySQL client is installed now, because that package were found, right? So if I say right now RPM minus QA, remember I said RPM is a Red Hat package manager. So then I say grep minus I MySQL, then you can see that MySQL dash common, MySQL dash 8 is installed. At this time, I could also say which MySQL, and it is going to show me. And if I say which MySQL dump, it's going to show me MySQL pump, MySQL show. All of those ones are being installed. MySQL dash secure connection or something, a secure dash installation. I'll just show you after that one. MySQL admin is there, and then MySQL D is not there yet. So I need to install MySQLD, which is a daemon for the server. So at this time, if I say which SQL, and then say MySQL minus U root, and then it says that, you don't have a MySQL daemon running as a socket, so you need to install the server side first, which is accurate. And also you can say user ben star MySQL, and you see that MySQL dump, MySQLD is not there. Everything else is there, and MySQL secure connection is not also there because we haven't installed the MySQL database. So what I do is a DNF install and then say MySQL dash server. This is going to install the server side of the database. And when you're installing the server side, now it's going to have MySQL server as well as these other packages. So I'm going to just say, go ahead and install them. And then once that one is installed, now I will have MySQLD process available, and then I can configure it to just start by daemon at the time of boot or anything. I'll show you all of that one. So currently, you can see that it is getting installed package 404, and that's a little bit time consuming. It's taking a few seconds, longer than it should be. It's always depend on your resources. And so let's just wait for it a few seconds more. And then now you can see it is past that one, already defined, and now it says that installation of MySQL daemon completed successfully, right? So everything transaction is success. So I say which MySQLD, now it is there. And then if I say ls minus l user ben store MySQL, notice that in addition to MySQLD, I'm also getting like a user MySQL underscore secure installation and some other process that were not there before. So what you need to do is at this time, say systemctl status of MySQLD. Because this MySQLD come as a service, as a daemon, it creates a file on the user lib systemd system, and MySQLD is the service. So currently this one is disabled, but it is not running. So what I need to do is first enable it. You say MySQLD enable, and notice that when you enable it, it just create the symbolic link for this one to point to the other one. So all you need to do is at this time clear your screen and say which MySQLD is there, systemctl status MySQLD, and you can MySQLD, you could see that it is enabled here, but has not started. So when I do that MySQL, and instead of status, I'm gonna say start. Because when you enable it after the reboot, next time that you bring your system up, automatically it is started. Now I check it, it says it's running, it is enabled, and it's available for it. So it also reports you the memory and then also the process ID, which is 6158. Every time you start it, it may just have a different process ID or may have the same one if it is not used. But notice that also it gives you additional information on the process ID of it and then the port that MySQL is running. So how do I know the port number? You can do a clear screen here. If on this process status, if you don't see a port number, for example, right here is that information. What you need to do is just do a quick here, say grep -i MySQL etc services. This file has all the ports like 3306 and should be somewhere here. And then that is going to tell you that that's a process ID of MySQL and MySQLD and so on. All of that one, some of these ports that are being used are shown here. So what I could do is also say systemctl. When you do this systemctl, notice that this process ID is showing up here. So at this time, I could say pwdx minus p and then 6158. So and instead of minus p, by default, it is that port number, and it says that, okay, it is started from that var lib MySQL, print working directory of executable. That's what pwdx is stand for. So if I say lsof, list of open files minus p 6158, then I get all the processes that MySQL is running. So then I could also look for grep -i listen. -i meaning that I don't have to write uppercase or lowercase. You can see that the MySQL X and MySQL is listening on this process ID. But if I want more detail of it, I can also look at the socket information, type more, and then you could see all the var lib, MySQLD, the binaries, and everything here. This is just for your purpose of like if you want to make sure that all the integrity of the database is up and running, is correct, and everything is in case of some abnormality, you can say, well, last time I did a screen capture of these processes. There were 10 of them or 20 of them. Now, some of the processes are not running properly. That's why if you get something, you can always troubleshoot it differently or performance tuning. So now I have MySQL running, which I know by MySQL status of MySQLD. So then I can say let's just connect to that instance first. So I can, I don't have to go as root here. I can exit out of this one, but I'm gonna stay as root because of some of the option that later on I can enable or disable. It's easier to just type it in, and then later on I can go back to a regular user also. So I could say MySQL client and then minus u root minus p. And it's gonna prompt me for the password. Say, go ahead, type in the password. At this time, I did not have given any password. So let me just try the root password that I have to see if it works with the root password or not. Yes, it does. So whatever is your root password by default, when you do -p, it connects it there. So at this time, I could say all the commands that are inside MySQL, I could do this one, and if I just want to clear my screen here, I could do a pound, and then let's see, host maybe, host clear. Okay, so some of the information I have to see host. The way the syntax is working, I was doing my SQL commands like that is good on SQL Plus, and so on my SQL you can see /? Is going to give you a help of commands, and then /s for status to get the status, and then you can also type in status, and then you can also type in these commands, clear the current state input statement. So let's just do /c, and then that's the clearing the current statement. The status, we can get the status of it. So a lot of the help or there, you can do that one. And then you can also get question mark, getting that one. And then if you want to change anything, you can do that one. And then also, let's say show databases. So now you can see the databases information that are there. And if you want to use, for example, MySQL, you say use MySQL, and then just now databases there. So now I'm inside the MySQL, I say show tables. And then I could just look at the tables there with it. So I use MySQL client to connect it to it. And then now I'm going to quit out of it and just or just do a select, let's say select a star from servers, see what is inside there, describe servers, then you can see that that's the table, and then has 0 records. Usually the user is having something, so if I say select star from user, then you can see all the information that are there. And you can create user and other ones. That would be a different topic. I could just create it or create tables from another one. So just as a sample, let's say create a table user underscore temp as, and then you say select a star from a user. And then when you run this one, now you just created a table called user underscore table. So describe user, and then when you do this one, it shows you 51. And if you say describe a user underscore temp, it's also 51. So select slash clear. Okay, let's do select and star from user. It would be 4 rows, and then if I say star underscore user underscore temp, it's 4 rows. So everything is there. Now I'm going to say drop table user underscore temp. I don't need it. The table is dropped, committed, and then information is committed. I'm going to quit out. So a lot of these commands are very easy, whether you want to do data manipulation language or data definition language, you're defining tables, user, account. Data manipulation, when you're manipulating the data, insert, update, all those statements. Data control language is when you are just giving access privileges, grant and revoke kind of permission. So let's just clear the screen here. I want to show you one more thing before we end this video. I want to show an example of MySQL show, for example. MySQL, you can see here MySQL star, and then I just showed you that MySQL inside the MySQL client, MySQL database, and MySQL other ones. So I could just run user Ben MySQL show. And by default, this one is going to say it's not connected to a local database. So I say -u root -p, and then I'm going to provide the same password that I did, and then that will connect me to the current instance and run the same output there. And then similarly, if you want to dump the data or pump it or anything, you could just use those ones. So, and then if you're just looking for MySQL admin kind of syntax, you could just type it in and -h for help, and then dash help maybe. Yeah, dash help. And you can do as if you want to flash it or status of it. Any of those commands you could do, and just you could do that. And then obviously -u root -p, and then provide the password. And now you see that the database is up and running, and all the queries that have been executed. So what other things that I want to show on this video, like I told you before I finish it, is MySQL secure underscore installation. This one, my user Ben MySQL secure installation. So when you install it, this is on the path of user Ben because of echo $path. Already a user Ben is on the environment. So if I say which MySQL underscore secure underscore installation, this one is available for you. That means that you can just type in simply MySQL underscore and secure underscore installation, and then press enter. And now you're configuring the database in the way that you could secure it. So it's asking me for enter a password for user root. I'm going to provide password that I can remember easily, but it has to be strong enough to do it. And then now it says estimated strength of password. Let me just make sure that I move this Zoom information away so I can read the information. And at this time it says estimate the strength of the password 100, and then change the root password for root. I'm going to have to say yes. Go ahead, change it. And then it says new password. I'm going to provide that password. Okay, so it says that the password is the same. Do you want to continue with the password provided, and say yes? And then at this time it says what else you want to do. And so there's a lot of information. By default, MySQL installation has an anonymous user, allowing anyone to log in into MySQL without having to have a user account created by them. And this is intended only for testing and make the installation go a bit smoother. You should remove before moving to the production environment. Yes, definitely, I agree. I'm doing for testing, I'm still going to remove it. I don't want to have anything anonymous or anything that if I forgot some other day that I just still have the database running, I want it to be safe. So I'm going to remove it, yes. And then it says disallow root login remotely. So when you disallow remotely, that means somebody could not log in with root onto MySQL remotely, meaning on the local host, you're still fine. So I'm going to say yes, disallow that one. You want to disallow root login on the console of your server, as well as SSH as well as MySQL and as well as any application that is using root to just allow. When you do allow it as root, then you're just kind of giving it a high risk, very, very high risk for your system to be compromised at a later date. So disallow those options. Remove this database and access to it. Yes, I want to remove the database. I test purpose. I just don't want it. Reload the privilege table. This is the MySQL admin flash that is reloading it. So I'm going to say yes, reload it, and it's all done now. So now it is there. Let's do MySQL -u root -p and then see if after the instance is flashed with new information, we could still connect to the client. And notice that /h and other ones are basically providing you to you the short one version as well as longer version and clearing the screen and the command line. You could do that one, and if you want to do a source and other ones, you have all of those ones. And then at the same time, there should be an option for system or bank exclamation. So this is very useful command. If you do this, and then any command like pwd, it will run this one. Hostname, it will run. Sorry, hostname. You have to type hostname correct. Hostname, or just let's clear the screen here. This is what I wanted to do. And then you can also get like, if you're inside this one, you say man MySQL, you could get some of the options here, read it, and then all of a sudden you could just come back here and then run your command inside there. Like, for example, I showed you how to create tables in this one. So if I say show databases, and there are still these tables that are there, whether it's a schema or system. So if I say information schema or performance schema, each one of them you can go. This time say use sys. And then now we have used the sys and database change. Now say show tables. And then you can see all the tables that are related to the system. You can see $, like Oracle, or mostly like $, and this one is $X. Those are system tables that are called metadata or the data dictionary. That is database data about data to just make your system much more efficient. They have internal metadata or schema tables, data dictionaries to help you out. And so we could just also look at, for example, $X session. So if I say describe $X session, and then you can see here as all the fields that are defined on that one, and the state, and then a session ID and connection ID. If you're connecting to a database instance and which database name it is and what user, you could get those information from it. So let's just say select user, comma DB, comma state. And just 3 of those ones to see what are showing for this table. I'm gonna say select user, comma DB, comma state from this table, and now we see that the session is there. We are connecting to as root a user at localhost instance, and the database is sys, and then executing that one. So now if I say use MySQL, and then at this time, if I just do the same thing, I cannot just say this command here because sys is not being used. So in order to do this one, I have to say sys.this, and then it will provide it. Because I have to go to the database instance, the table, sorry, not that table. Yeah, the table first, and then the, I'm sorry, the database instance first, and then the table name, and then pull the records there. So that's how you do that, okay? So I'm gonna quit out of this one and just walk you through my Web University channel, which is this one on the YouTube. And you can see that I have a lot of videos for you. Please join this one. This is just a list of playlists. If you go to videos, you will see this 1,200 videos that are in the topic of Bash scripting, Unix tutorial, Linux tutorials, PowerShell, C, C++, Python, database, a lot of stuff. Then you can see that Windows operating system, Python, Red Hat, Rocky, Ubuntu, backup, secure shell. There's thousands of them. You're welcome to join and make sure you subscribe and make some nice comment. You can also go to my Web University main page and just look at these documentation, as well as if you're Farsi spoken or Persian or Dari, and some of my countrymen from Afghanistan, you're welcome to watch these videos to just learn it. I make more videos. Please subscribe so I can help you further. The subscription notice, it's unfortunately, it's kind of embarrassing for that many videos that I have, 59 videos, only 82 people. I know, unfortunately, some people, they don't have internet access, so that what might be the main reason. Or some people, they don't know about the website or the channel what is available for them, or it might not be benefiting them because they don't have the access to reach out to this site. But a lot of you are out of the side of the country, you do have internet, and I know that you watch other stuff. So please help out other community in your area or other people that are in better needs. If you know it, teach them. If you don't know it, learn it and teach them there. So we could have a lot of duplicates of clone of Wahid everywhere, and then everybody is going to produce and then help out in the community. And if you are speaking other languages, aside from Farsi or Pashto or Arabic or German or something, you are also familiar with English. English is a common language, most people know it. So you're welcome to watch these ones and make some notes and learn from it. Whether you're student, developers, or working on the IT or finding a job for yourself, I'm there to help you out. Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. In today's session, I'm going to do